We will move to our next panelist. The subject is police discretion and extra legal factors in the arrest decision. Now, Dr. Satyajit Mohanty is a 1988 batch officer from Odhisa cadre. He has taken VRS and now he is chairman for the Public Service Commission there. He has been earlier CP Bhubaneswar Cuttack. He has also worked as DG Prison and Special DGP Intelligence. The more relevant to us here is his PhD in the law is on the subject of arrest discretion and behavior of police in India. So he has a specific PhD on the subject we are talking today. He, of course, holds a MA in the human rights, and he has done some PG programs in public policy and management, both from India and abroad as well. He has authored and co-authored 5 books, so quite an erudite officer. I would request Dr. Satyajit Mohanty to share his observations and findings in 12 minutes, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all of you. I'll try, sir. It's a challenge, actually, to sum it up in 12 minutes. In fact, yes, sir, this was my PhD subject and a subject which is very close to my heart. Why this subject I took up, sir? I'll just give half a minute. As a practitioner, all of us now, starting from Mr. Kuldeep Sharma, Mr. Kumawat, Mr. Devarajan, even to some extent Ramphal, all of them discussed anecdotal account why there is a gap between what is there in the law and how it is being practiced by the police. 2009 amendment came after 110 years. The last amendment of arrest law was 1898. 1973 did not see any change, except in 109 it was discussed, but the amendment came after 110 years. In these 110 years, what were the compelling factor? The compelling factors are the National Police Commission report, the Joginder Kumar report in 1994. That is, I would say, a very, very important piece of legislation. In fact, Joginder Kumar, the notice, first time service of notice was suggested in Joginder Kumar way back in 1994. It became law in 2009. Then DK Basu, all these 41 ABCD are part of the DK Basu, now imported to the law. Then 177th Law Commission report, 2009 amendment, then came this Arnesh Kumar. While I was just having a look, why this, why Arnesh Kumar? Arnesh Kumar castigated the police that you are not implementing the law. There is a big gap between what is there in the law and basically on 2009. Arnesh Kumar only suggested about the checklist. Otherwise, Arnesh Kumar is discussing the law 2009 amendment which came into the CRPC after 110 years. Now, why this gap? If we see that, this is the range of discretion, you see. I have just, these are all very familiar pictures to all of you. 2020, George Floyd. This is Tuticorin, Jairaj and Benny. This is one arrest of a former chief minister at midnight in 2001. And the last one, if you see the range of discretion of police discretion in arresting or detaining, starting from extreme abuse of this power to here, somebody is being shamed, given a rose, even if the person has violated, he is without a helmet, could have been challaned, but he is being given some kind of a rose to shame him or to, kind of a way to make him wear the helmet in the next step. Police is not taking action there. So this is the range of discretion. What are the research finding in discretion? We saw these are some of the, I would like this to be little, just have a look. I'll just read out. these two sentences. One is the behavior of the police officer is not solely influenced by law, and that policing is for the most part extra-legal. For while officers work within the constraints of law, they seldom invoke law in performing police work. Odin is a professor of criminology in State University, Albany, New York. The second one is very interesting. All of us are familiar with Mr. Kelly. He is also another professor of criminal justice at Rutgers University, New York. The fame, broken window fame, telling that theory. He says the idea that police, for example, made arrest decisions simply on the basis of whether or not a law has been violated, as a generation of police leaders led the public to believe, was simply an inaccurate portrayal of how the police work. The police work is complex. That police use enormous amount of discretion, and that discretion is the core of police function. Here is the catch actually. Discretion should be there. We discussed about the discretion. Someone told that there should not be any discretion. Without discretion, enforcement of law will be extremely harsh on the public. In fact, discretion is the lubricant of the enforcement, not for personal gain or for some motive. It is basically for the public interest. It should be fair, just, and in the interest of the public. That is how the discretion. And this is universally true. Whatever Warden and Kelly said. My research was basically focusing why there is a gap, why police is doing, what is the discretion, why there is a discretionary abuse. That was my this thing. So I took about 360 police officers, out of which 138 are IPS officers from across India, 220 are subordinate police officers. I did it for about 3 to 4 years, and the finding is very riveting and interesting also. Whatever we have been discussing since morning, that somebody has harassed by the police, why there was a harassment, there was some kind of a motive, etc. So this has come out from the police officers. So this is perhaps, I think, first empirical study on police discretion, particularly arrest discretion behavior of police, in which we have taken the views of the police officer in a proper research methodology. And I'll come to that next. This is how I would like to sum it up, like how the discretion affects the decision-making process. If you see, this is basically by Dorquin. Dorquin is a Yale University law professor. He termed it as hole in the donut, but I thought in the Indian context, it could be hole in the Indian vada. And if you see that boundary of law is that vada proper, and there is a hole in the center, and that is the discretionary space. That is basically intangible. Law, regulations, rule, Ordnance Kumar, Supreme Court, 2009, Police Commission, all these things are boundary of law defined. This is constraining the decision-making process. But this whole there is an, I would say, intangible, extra-legal things is embedded there along with this boundary of law. And when there is a crack, it says, according to the Professor Dorquin, ambiguity and vagueness create crack in the boundary of the structure that results in policing failure. Cracks allow the discretion to seep outside the boundary and causes police officers to stray or deviate. This is what is happening. What is happening in that hole, I have termed them, not I have, the theory has termed them extra-legal. While this boundary will be legal factors, there are several extra-legal factors which are constraining or which are shaping our decision-making process. What are they? Subculture is one important. Situation is important. External environment. Mr. Sharma was discussing about the media and the public opinion, the political pressure. These are external things which is affecting. These are not legal. These are extra-legal things. Extra-legal is not synonymous with illegal. Extra-legal are factors which also shape our decision-making, but not illegal things. But they are also intangible. that is what is important. This we have discussed in the morning. I'll just skip that. And this is the crux of the issue. Determinants like organization. Organization is legal. Law, rules, police manual, checklist. These are legal factors, determinants. But there are determinants. This is subculture, environment, situation, individual characteristic also influence our arrest decision or discretion. While organization through manual, statute, rules, circulars, court rulings influence direct decision, best determinants are extra legal. So what I found very interesting and key findings, I'll come to that. An overwhelming 80% of the respondents acknowledge that amended 41 on arrest court directive on Odhisa Kumar impact the arrest decisions. Fine. But almost half of the respondents agree that internal mechanism exists to detect violation of arrest procedure. That means 50% of the police officers, we also admit that there is not proper internal mechanism. Accountability comes to question here. 57% agrees that organization place strong emphasis on departmental action for violation of arrest procedure. When it is 57, that means 43% still think that there is no strong emphasis on departmental action, which casts serious doubt on the existence of robust accountability mechanism for discretional abuse. 70% of the respondents believe that IOs sometimes have to make personal judgment as opposed to the guidelines. 76% of the respondents believe that arrest in some instances precede collection of evidence. This we are discussing in the morning. An overwhelming 88% of the respondents endorse that 5 rider clauses under section 41B gives wide discretionary choices. In fact, in my opinion, or whatever I found during this thing, the 41 amendment has become nullified. It is almost as good as P29 because of these 5 rider clauses. This is the whole effect, the whole amendment is getting diluted, watered down because of this. But only today, Mr. Rampal also indicated this. About 71% of the respondents say that discretion is a subject, not part of the police training. Such an important. It's breathing. We breathe discretion as police officers. This is oxygen for the police, but we never discuss it. In fact, I'm going to National Police Academy. The director has been accepted my suggestion. I have also moved BPRND that it should be part of the training curriculum of all the IPS and up to the rank of sub-inspector. 75% of agree that community policing practices will substantially constrain the arrest discretion.
And Dr. Mohanty, you must close in please 2 minutes more.
Yes, sir.
Already
organizational then these are some of the subcultural determinants. 61% of the respondents agree or strongly agree to the subcultural ethos. A dirty hairy dilemma. I do not want to elaborate on this. 68%. That means subculture is also affecting the decision-making process or the discretion for that matter to a large extent. Similarly, environment. Mr. Kuldeep Sharma was discussing about this in the morning. Yes, this has been also empirically established now. 88% of the respondents endorse that public perception of police action is affecting our decision making. 85% are concerned about the fallout of their action. Media, civil society, about 80% of the police respondents say yes, it is constraining our decision making. About 75% of the population agree or strongly agree to the political influence in the decision making. If I summarize, subculture, environment influence the arrest discretion. Subculture, environment both are extra legal, as strong as the organizational determinants, that is legal. So arrest decisions are taken. This is the challenge for a police leadership. Decision is taken in a complex maze of legal and extra legal factors. The boundary between legal and extra legal factors is ill-defined, and so the tolerable exercise of arrest power can be clothed as a legitimate exercise. This is a challenge to the police. Some of the recommendations are, I'll just sum up in a minute, sir. Discretion as a curriculum, in the training academy, because 71% of our own police officers admit that it is not a curriculum in our academy, though it is so important for policing. Training on ethics and adoption of community policing to overcome the negative aspects of subculture. Subculture, I can discuss about hours, whether it's constant of time. Stronger accountability mechanism for discretion and accountability are linked intrinsically. The police complaint authority, as suggested by the Ribeiro report or Sunil Sarabji report, is actually not in the ground. We do not see any results. Checklist ground of arrest to be more objective, as the previous speaker said, that checklist becomes mechanical, and it has become mechanical. So there should be more objectivity by ground of arrest. Media and civil society, about 80% of us say that it is affecting. So training on handling of the institutional and societal pressure, legal awareness, legal aids to the victims also can ensure to certain degree of accountability. Yes, I also agree with Mr. Pawar that it should revisit the 41B exception by the lawmakers, because that is nullifying the whole amendment 41 amendment we are discussing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohanty. I think it may be one of the very few studies, or maybe the only study, which has been done on the subject of discretion in arrest by the police in the country. So that too a very useful one. The two important points which have come out of the study is the 5 riders clauses which have been given. They are making the purpose of the 41 CRPC defeated. So maybe there is a need to revisit. And the second important point made by Dr. Mohanty is that this discretion while the arresting and the following of the 41 amended section is not being taught to the police officers in the police academies and training institutes. So maybe it needs to be built as a part of curriculum. I must confess myself, in 2016, I was heading the Telangana State Police Academy. I revised the syllabus, and this topic I missed on this. Barkat Ali ji will be here with me. He was AD Law at that time with me. So yes, I think we should look at that. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohanty.
Thank you, sir.